Welcome back. The Defend Our Democracy campaign is calling for political parties and individuals to respect the Constitutional Court's judgment. Former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela was one of the speakers at an online rally, and she speaks to us now. A very good morning to you, Ms. Madonsela, and thank you so much for your time this morning. So some, including the former head of state himself, are saying that this isn't the kind of sentence you hand down to a 79-year-old man with ill health. What's your take?
Thank you, dear colleague. Good morning to everyone. It isn't an ideal sentence for a 79-year-old man. However, it is the kind of hard power the Constitutional Court must unpleasantly wield to get us to do what we're supposed to do.
Now, would you say this sends a message that the judiciary is never to be challenged or defied?
Absolutely, and we're not talking about the judiciary in general. We're talking about the apex court of the land, and we're not talking about a Gogo Dlamini. We're talking about a powerful politician.
Now, ma'am, former President Jacob Zuma is being jailed without trial here. Is this the kind of case that allows for that? It is something that a number of people that have been in conversation about this particular thing are saying that this is not something that should be happening.
It is not entirely true that President Zuma is being, or former President Zuma is being jailed without trial. There is an element of compliance with Section 35, but certainly there's full compliance with Section 12 of the Constitution. You will recall that, firstly, this matter has been two stages. There's the December decision of the Constitutional Court, which was the defiance of the Commission, and then the decision of the Constitutional Court that former President Zuma should go back to the Commission of Inquiry and answer questions like every other human being. And then when this particular matter came to the ConCourt in the form of motion proceedings, there was still an opportunity for everyone to engage the court in writing, number one. And secondly, after President Zuma elected not to engage in writing in the motion proceedings, which he didn't challenge, by the way, for violating his right to a fair trial, he just simply said he wasn't interested in this because he had a precondition for everything. The Constitutional Court wrote to him asking what would be his view in the event he was sentenced to a custodial sentence. And that was an opportunity for him to present his side of the story. I think ultimately we have to ask ourselves, what could be aired in court through a trial that has not been aired or that has not been given an opportunity to be heard in the current circumstances? And if we can answer that question honestly, then we would be right in complaining that a fair trial has not been granted.
Is the former president being poorly legally advised?
I certainly think so, although having been part of a PABASA panel where one of his advisors was part of the panel, it became clear that at the end of the day, lawyers can take their clients to drink or to a spring where they can drink, but they can't force them to drink.
The current president has been involved, or rather roped into this, brought into this. Allegations have been leveled against him where this particular case is involved, Ms. Madonsela. Now, can the possibility of this being a political chess game not be worth considering? Can the president, the sitting president's involvement in this not be something that can be questioned?
Politicians, when they're in trial, all over the world, they politicize the trial. And President Zuma has politicized his trials from day one. And therefore, that cannot be stopped. But the moment President Cyril Ramaphosa gets involved in this case, that would be unconstitutional. That would be a violation of the separation of powers. And therefore, he has done well for staying out of this trial. But also, the Constitutional Court said something about being impervious to public opinion and has been criticized for that. But I think what the Constitutional Court was saying, and in so doing, basically paraphrasing former President Nelson Mandela during the inauguration of the Constitutional Court, was that the Constitutional Court should not worry too much about politics. How many politicians are so powerful in this country that through their demagoguery, they can mobilize a whole lot of people to come and defend them? How many drug lords can mobilize a whole lot of people to defend them? Should the Constitutional Court, therefore, not implement justice because it's afraid of the politics? And what kind of country then would prevail in that circumstances?
A number of analysts that we've been in conversation with, Ms. Madonsela, have advised the former president to hand himself over to the police today, even though he has, of course, put that application forward for the rescission of this judgment. Would you say that he should do the same thing, or, you know, because there is this application that has been put forward, have it heard first?
The legal position, as I understand it, is that he only has two options: to hand himself to court, to hand himself to a police station, or to apply for a stay of the execution of the Constitutional Court judgment. And that application for a stay cannot be made at the Pietermaritzburg court because of the hierarchy of courts. That application can only be made to the Constitutional Court, and as far as I know, it hasn't been done. So a proper advice to him would be that he only has two options: hand himself over or apply to the Constitutional Court. But even if he does apply, he cannot stay at home unless he's been given permission to the Constitutional Court. And that again boils down to why he is in this problem. He said he presumed that he was now allowed by the commission to go home. Imagine if every Gogodlamini were to presume that it's okay to do as they want in a court of law. We must understand that the courts have to do a systems approach to things, because every decision the courts make, they're teaching us that this is the way we should behave.
Now, just before I let you go, Ms. Madonsela, you raised a question on your Twitter page yesterday about how some who violate lockdown regulations are being afforded preferential treatment, at least it seems, over others. Now, who would you say should be held accountable for the protests that we saw, or rather the gatherings that we saw in Nkandla yesterday?
Well, we would have to hold accountable all of the leaders involved. There's an induna, anybody who addresses those meetings. Because in labor law, for example, if you organize a strike that goes around and destroys property, the trade union involved gets held accountable. In this particular case, certainly the organizers of events that violate the regulations should be held accountable. And not only for violation of the regulations, I think doctors should do a tracking of the impact of these events on the pandemic and hold them accountable also for the super spreader impact of these events.
Right. We'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you so much, Ms. Madonsela, for joining us here on the South African Morning. That is former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela.